Hey guys, subscribe for daily content. And if you're shopping for gear, make sure you check out the description for the newest items at some of the very best online retailers. There's also links for some of the items that I personally recommend. Thanks! What's going on YouTube? Metal Complex here, and today I've got a short little knife review / knife overview to show you guys. This is the Buck Range Pro, the standard version of the knife. I've already reviewed the Elite version. This is the standard version, full size, that comes with the GFN or glass-filled nylon thermoplastic handle. And then we have the 154 cm blade. Still decent materials. This is a USA-made pocket knife, and I think the biggest topic of discussion here, the biggest point of interest is that it's less expensive than the Kershaw Bel Air. When we're talking about the most, popular, best value, dollar for dollar, USA made pocket knives, not US assembled, I mean truly USA made pocket knives that are good quality, most fingers point to the Bel Air, and for good reason, because it's a really, really good knife at $159. This is an upgraded version, but the standard version in Magna Cut and micarta, really, really good knife for the money. And this is only $124, but a lot of people will immediately point out that the materials are not absolutely amazing, especially when you compare to the Bel Air for just a little bit more money. So is there any reason to pick this knife up? I think that a lot of people will probably still side with the Bel Air, and I don't think that there's anything wrong with that. But I do want to offer, after carrying this for a bit, I do want to offer a few of you some options to consider when looking for a US knife right around this price point, because this is still a very, very good knife. Just because, in a lot of ways it's outclassed by this, there's still some really, really good stuff here, and still a few things I think might sway some people. So I'm going to give you guys my thoughts very quickly, and I'll link this knife and the Elite version and the Mini version, which I have not reviewed yet, down in the description so that you guys can check it out. Thanks to my patrons for supporting me. Make sure that notifications are turned on for the Metal Complex YouTube channel. Overall length, we'll do very quick specs here. Not my whole typical intro. Overall length is 7 3/4 inches, blade length is 3 1/4, and cutting edge is 3 1/8. That does make it a little bit bigger than the Bel Air, but now there is of course, the Bel Air XL, which is almost the same size as this knife. It's very, very close, and the Bel Air XL is $10 more at $169. Now, that starts to, you're starting to get up there, a pretty broad difference in terms of price, right, with the bigger one. But again, those materials on the XL are, I think most people would say, superior. So here it is up against the standard Bel Air, the one that's closer in price. We'll put it up against the Spyderco Para 3. Let's do the Shark Cub, just some other super popular EDC knives in this territory. The Hogue Deca, the Ontario Rat Model 2. We can go ahead and put the Bug Out up here since, you kind of have to. But there you go. So this knife, as I mentioned before in the Elite review, runs on phosphor bronze. And I bring this up a lot. I know my regular subs and people who are well, educated in the knife world, you guys roll your eyes, but it's important that we point this out to newer people. It's very, very easy for people to get into this hobby and automatically assume that knives that operate on bearings are superior just because the action feels better. This is not true. A lot of times the feeling of action is preference, but number one, there are knives out there that operate on phosphor bronze that are indistinguishable in terms of action versus bearings. Number two, there's various tiers of each, right? I mean, in terms of overall quality and execution, and with bearings especially, there's tons of different, types of bearings. You can get bearings in a $20 knife or less nowadays. There's nothing special there, but all the way up into the multi-$1,000 territory, like my Dalibor Bergam, you can still find phosphor bronze washers. It really comes down to preference of the customer and maker, the purpose of the design, right, all of that. You will see way more bearings nowadays than you will phosphor bronze, and I think it's just because the average consumer is a pretty casual knife user who's not really going out and absolutely beating the tar out of their knives, so they're not getting them super dirty and dusty and gritty, which is a problem for bearings. It is not a problem for phosphor bronze. If you plan on throwing your knife around, if you plan on getting your knife literally stuck in the mud, right, kind of just kicked around and used like a tool, right? Not like a tool that it's not meant to be used as, but just kind of thrown around, right? You're not going to baby it. You might consider something like this because there is no option for phosphor bronze in the Bel Air. It is bearings. That's the only option that you have unless you add the custom ones yourself. And the action is better on the Bel Air. It's really, really smooth, right? But the action's still pretty amazing on this guy. They did a really good job with the washers. I have this tightened. I did have to adjust it a little tiny bit out of the box, but I've got this adjusted to where there's absolutely no blade play. Only just a hint of lock stick left after, some reasonable carry, right? And pretty darn good action. You can see there it's wanting to simply fall. Well, not every single time, but a lot of times it's wanting to just fall right about there. It wants to fall. It's not quite as smooth as the bearings, but it's pretty close. And most importantly, it is very, very easy to manipulate. I'm not having to fight the knife, right? So a slight decrease in the feeling of luxury in the action for basically absolute peace of mind using this knife as a tool because phosphor bronze washers are both self-lubricating and they make it almost impossible for dirt and debris to get in there. So for a lot of people, that's going to be a small price to pay. Moving on into, your size differences and your ergonomics. This is a different blade shape. The Kershaw, you can call it a bunch of different things, reverse tanto, modified sheep's foot, whatever, right? We have a pretty basic drop point blade here. Really good cutting geometry. We have 154 cm versus MagnaCut. Which is the better steel? It's MagnaCut for sure. 154 cm is a great steel. There's nothing wrong with it. It's very, very well balanced, and honestly, it's an incredibly friendly steel. If you're not super familiar with sharpening and you're going to use it, you're going to really screw the edge up and you're going to need to resharpen it sometimes. This is pretty friendly stuff. Then again, so is MagnaCut. It's not as friendly as 154. I mean, you're going to work a lot less on something like this versus the MagnaCut to get it back to sharp, but the MagnaCut is going to last longer. I also believe MagnaCut has both better corrosion resistance and better toughness, which is really, really hard to beat. But MagnaCut is, a newer steel that boasts some pretty incredible, specs there. So, but 154 cm is still very good. There's nothing wrong with it, and we're going to continue to see it for a while. The cutting geometry on this is great. Honestly, both knives cut really, really well. One's got a slightly longer blade. I think, honestly, it's going to come down to size preferences and blade preferences. Again, you can get the bigger Kershaw if you want to, but it's going to cost you quite a bit more money versus this guy. Your scale materials. The thermoplastic GFN, it's just very strong, lightweight material. There's nothing wrong with it. A lot of other handle materials that you would place in the same category are going to be the same. The problem is that with a lot of us, it just feels cheap, right? This would have been a much easy, for me, it would have been a much, much closer battle if we could have at least had G10 on this guy. And I don't know why we don't, I can't imagine that G10 is that much more expensive, right? And I feel like the durability is about the same between the two. So I don't know why. That would have been really, really nice. But truthfully, these sort of plasticky materials just feel a little bit cheap. But this wouldn't immediately, in my head, if I was blindfolded, it wouldn't immediately register as thermoplastic. I think I'd have to sit there and feel it for a second and go, yeah, I think that's plastic, right? It does not feel nearly as cheap as the far, far more expensive standard Benchmade bug out. My God, does that thing feel cheap. This doesn't. This feels quite a bit more solid on the surface. Like I said, you can tell that it's plastic, but it doesn't have that Benchmade bug out, wicker basket feel, right? It's like you're going to sneeze and the knife's going to disintegrate because it's been sitting in the sun for too long and withering away. No, this still feels like a fairly robust tool despite being lightweight and compact. That's another thing that we should check out here is the weight between the two. Now, of course, the bigger one's going to be heavier, and this is a slightly different weight than the standard one because this is carbon fiber. Shouldn't be off by much. This is a 2.5 ounce knife. This being a bigger knife is 2.8 ounces, and it's probably because of the thermoplastics and maybe Maybe because of the line. Yeah, this has a liner that goes all the way down to the bottom. And on this guy, I was surprised to see that it does not have a liner that goes all the way down to the bottom. It's got just a cartridge liner. And if I'll get a flashlight so we can actually see in there. But oh no, you know what? I'm sorry. Am I mistaken? Oh no, that's the screws for the, I saw the screws there and I thought, oh, that must be it. No, this actually ends right here. You can see there's a cartridge liner that just sort of ends right there. I really thought because of how solid it felt that there would be a full liner, and it doesn't really matter. I mean, either way, it's not going to add that much strength. But this guy's lighter probably because it has less overall. It just has, you know, less steel in it, and the materials are a little bit lighter. So your weight to blade length ratio, I guess, is a little better. I can't imagine that's going to matter to too many people. Balance on this knife is really, really great right behind the pivot. This guy is going to be slightly further back, probably due to that steel liner, but again, not that big of a deal. As far as your disassembly goes, this has some Chicago ends, and then you have a bunch of T8 screws. It's a crossbar lock. Same with this guy. I can't imagine one's going to be substantially more frustrating than the other. Your pocket clips between the two, honestly, these are both incredibly good clips. This guy's got some crazy tension on it. So does this guy, though. And this guy's riding right on top of this tech string. Would have been nice to find a way to, you know, add some sort of bald spot that still kind of went along with the design, because the grip on this is really good. It's contoured and has this little kind of slowly expanding diamond texture. This feels really, I mean, almost even more so than the expensive one. It really feels like the tool between the two. It feels like the one that I have the most confident grip on outside of the jimping. The jimping is essentially useless. I don't know what they were doing here. And then, you know, the balance and the lightweight, but it's still feeling solid. It's just nice. The lock-in on this, admittedly, between the two is better. I actually like how this one feels even more than the Kershaw Bel Air XL. This just has essentially a perfect grip on it. I really like it. You know, great blade for a multitude of different tasks. It's just a standard drop point blade. And honestly, the overall fit and finish, outside of maybe like bevel evenness, even then though, it's pretty good. I don't know. I think the fit and finish is almost indistinguishable between the two on this one. Maybe it was the Elite that had a little bit of a wonky bevel, right? But Kershaw is essentially perfect, and this is right up there, right? If it is slightly behind it, like I said, it's only slightly behind there. Really, really good. I think maybe Kershaw has a little bit better of a belt, satin finish there. It says Buck 110 USA on one side, and then we have the 154 CM on the other. Before MagnaCut and, you know, a lot of these other steels, 154 CM was just kind of the steel that I was the most familiar with because I had multiple knives in it. And, you know, there were different geometries and probably slightly different in terms of heat treatment. But what I noticed was the edge held for a pretty darn good amount of time. And when it came time to sharpen it, me, as somebody who really didn't have any major sharpening skills, could do it. I could get a working edge back on the knife, and it was fine. Fast forward to today, I'm still not a master sharpener by any stretch of the imagination. I have a little bit more knowledge, but would still consider myself novice. But with a KME, a guided KME and diamond stones, there's not a lot that I can't sharpen. There's just knives that are more or less frustrating, or steel that's more or less frustrating. And 154 CM still is a steel that I like in terms of performance and like the time investment for touching it up. So if that's something that's really, really, really important to you, being able to touch it back up, you know, strop it, or completely reprofile it with minimal time investment, well, then yeah, 154 CM definitely going to be your friend. But we can't deny that the balance of all of that stuff in MagnaCut is factually superior, right? So there's not really much in the way of argument that can be made. Maybe you take a little bit more time to touch up your MagnaCut, but the benefits in the MagnaCut are just flat out superior. But I believe the Elite version of this knife is in MagnaCut. I'm not sure that there's a whole lot more here. They're both ambidextrous in terms of the pocket clip mounting positions. Yeah, gosh, one has a lanyard hole and one doesn't. I don't know how much that's going to matter. You can attach it to the pocket clip if you really want to. As far as choices go, I think you're still going to have more choice with the Kershaw Bel Air in terms of just the variations that are out there. And I think for styling, like visual styling, I think the Bel Air is probably going to, appeal to people more. This is an incredibly generic profile. It is definitely Buck's bug out. But because the bug out is so ridiculously expensive and obviously is completely outmatched by its competition, people often look for anything but the bug out when they're looking for the bug out. So Buck Range Pro, absolutely still worth considering. The price point's $125, $124 versus $159. That is close enough that it's in the competition zone, but far enough away that it will still sway some people on price alone. If you're on a budget, like you're on a tight budget, you're looking at these two, and phosphor bronze is a preference, go with the Buck Range Pro, and the rest of it, even with like the 154 cm isn't as good as MagnaCut and the GFN. It feels kind of cheap. That'll go away pretty quickly. I really legitimately enjoyed carrying and using this knife. It was really, really good. I think it's like all the other competition. I think it's way better than the bug out for a bunch of different reasons, but not just in terms of price. But I really, really wish that they could have just done G10. I think that just would have felt better. I think it would have felt better with the price. A lot of people expect Buck to be able to throw 154 cm and injection mold plastic together and make it like a $60 knife. They cannot do that. They're not a Chinese company, right? The companies that are manufacturing knives in the USA that are way, way, way down there in terms of price are either significantly dumbing down the product itself, or they are significantly reducing, like they're using substantially cheaper materials and things like that, and dumbing down the quality control. So I'm sure that people will be like, oh, this company makes this knife in the USA for $50. I bet there's a whole bunch of elements there that we can point to that explain why it costs that much. I think people like to just be like, oh, well, this company is as clearly, catering very specifically to the community and not being greedy. I think that's it's very rarely the case, especially at this price point. I think oftentimes the companies that are able to get down there are just cutting corners, and we don't have the proper elements to compare. This is a nice high quality product, and while it is using just a basic handle material, the blade material is pretty good, and the fit and finish is extremely good, right? So I don't think that Buck could do this for 60, 70, 80 bucks. What would have been amazing to me is if they had done 154 cm and G10 for $99, right at $100, because at that point, then you are significantly lower in terms of price, and the materials are still very, very tempting. The problem with this knife is that the materials are almost, and the price is a little too high, right? So I think most people are still going to end up probably going with the Bel Air, but few people here and there might make this choice. And you didn't make a bad choice if you go with this version of this knife. It's not a bad knife. It's certainly, has kind of earned its place in this general competition zone. But I think for fewer people is it going to be the optimal choice. A good knife though, and generally speaking, I think a recommendable product. I don't want to make this video too long, and I'm realizing I've already kind of gone overboard there, but that's about it. Links for this guy down in the description. Please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like. If you'd like to check out my other content, I do of course have lots of videos of knives that are either expensive or inexpensive that I do or don't like, so check those out. And if you enjoy all my content, go ahead and click on the Metal Complex logo right there and subscribe, because there's definitely more coming. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and have a great day.